Raikan Topaini is for Thai drama lovers only. Hello, Sawadee-ha, and welcome to Axelle's Guide to Thai Dramas. So as you can see, my microphone is in another place again. I have been trying, I don't know, since I got my new computer, which is like, it's been over a year. Since I got my new computer, the settings of this microphone have been so hard to figure out. And I am quite a dum-dum when it comes to technology. So as you might have heard in the previous episode, the audio quality has been all over the place. And I am trying to remedy to that. But again, I am a dum-dum at technology. So, I'm hoping it works. I will try to not talk too much because I think my talking range is too big. Like literally I can go to talking very softly. This is more of the French way, like casual way. And then I will get excited and have some peaks on the microphone. So I'm gonna try to stay calm and collected today, but maybe not too much. Anyways, let's move on to the episode. Hello, welcome to Axelle's Guide to Thai Dramas. I am Axelle, and the Thai drama we're talking about today is Breakup Service. So first of all, before we go on to the first impressions, I mean, it's a little bit of that, like, obviously, I think at this point, if you do not know, I have a particular favorite actor, and that actor is Of Jun-pun. Okay, I am obsessed with him. I've met him multiple times since I've moved to Thailand. I'm beyond obsessed with him. Like, words cannot encompass how much I adore this man and what he means to me. But yeah, I wouldn't even consider me, like, make myself a fan, like, more than a stan. I'm just like, at this point, if he were to create a cult, I would join it 100%. So, for my first impression of Breakup Service was obviously, as most of the shows I review that come from GMMTV, was at the GMMTV lineup. And it's so funny because I had been, again, unfortunately, GMMTV has claimed so many of my reactions to these lineups. So this one is not available, but I was literally praying for Off to get a main role outside of BL again. And literally 5 seconds later, here it was, Breakup Service was announced. Apart from that, I am not Thai. I cannot read Thai for the life of me. I can speak it pretty well, but girl, that alphabet is playing tricks on me. I swear to God. I'm trying my best, but it is so hard. So, obviously I didn't know the webtoon, which is a webtoon, I'm hoping you know, is like a manga or manhwa, like, publishing website, and that is very, very popular, especially in Asia. Well, this is where webtoons have started originally, I believe. Yeah, probably. Not to offend anyone, girl. I don't know the story of webtoons, but anyways, I believe it's the case. And on that site was published Breakup Service by Ko Mai. I believe she is the author of this webtoon. And it went quite viral. This is a very popular webtoon. Last time I checked, it had like 80 million views on the website webtoon, which is pretty cool for a Thai comic. You know, there's only 70 million inhabitants in Thailand. So I think that's pretty good. And yeah, after the trailer, my first impression of the show was, I was a little bit dubitative about the pairing because I didn't know Jorin that well. I've actually have seen her in a concert, in the first Gotcha Pop concert, because she's a member of 4EVE. But at the time, I didn't know 4EVE that much. I like some of their songs, and I actually have some of their makeup products, because if you don't know, 4EVE actually is very successful for their makeup brand here in Thailand. So it's also, they must make a lot of money through that as well. And apart from that, I also knew that Jorin had been in a song with Nanon, which is called Knock Knock, Who Is There? Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. Watch me get copyrighted. Anyways, so that's basically the extent of how I knew Jorin. And to be honest, I was kind of like, why did they bring Jorin when there's so many actresses in GMMTV that I feel would have fit the role. At the time when I looked at the comic version, which is like the character, the female lead is like has this like lighter hair, I was immediately thinking of Jane Ramida, or now Jane Metica, but she has left GMMTV, so now it makes more sense why she was never added to that show. And I was like, oh my god, Jane. Obviously I've always loved Jane. I've always loved Off. They had a brief pairing in the show Wolf, and I would have been very excited to have them be paired, but in the end you're gonna see that girl Jorin converted me. We'll get to that. But for my first impression, I was super excited. I again adore Of Jung-pun, so literally everything he touches I will be watching. But not just that, I think it's really exciting because I am biased, but I think Off is very overlooked. I think there is part of it which I would want him to be less overlooked in general and more popular anyways. So there is that bias inside of that train of thought. But there's also some part of reality. I think it's pretty clear that Off is oftentimes the least popular in Afghan, in Afghantenu, in Pebaka in general. And he's my fave, so he's number one in my heart, you know what? But I get excited when I feel like GMMT actually acknowledge the fact that he's actually a really talented actor. Like, I know that shit is never acknowledged because obviously being paired with Gunn, who is a more emotional actor and put also in better, more emotionally charged role where he can show he's acting better, makes people think that Off is just like a decent actor compared to Gunn, but he's a really fucking good actor. I would argue in comedic roles, Of Jung-pun is better than Gunn Atapan, and you can come for me on that. I don't even care. So in any case, I was very excited to see GMMT for once kind of look at a more overlooked actor. And also let me preface that I know Off in the grand scheme of things is by far not the most overlooked actor at GMMT at all. He's actually pretty looked after, and I think that's why he's still there after all these years. He's been there since day one of GMMTV, and he's still there after almost like, I think it's been 12 years since he signed his first contract with GMMTV. So that says something. However, it is exciting because I often feel like GMMTV doesn't put much emphasis on him, especially again, his acting. So I was pretty excited for that. And then I also saw, like, following that trailer being released, pictures of the webtoon. And I was like, oh my god, they casted this so well. Not necessarily Jorin. Again, at the time, I didn't really see that she looked that much like the comic character, but Off was spot on. Some fans literally took pictures from the webtoon and compared it to some other Off pictures. Literally the same. Literally identical. I was like, this is the best casting ever. I know that they literally looked at the webtoon. They say, oh, we want to adapt it. Yeah, Of Jung-pun, let him come to the fucking, he's called to the office, you know? So it was, I think, a perfect, casting for Off, and we're going to talk about it more. I love it. So in terms of first impression, very, very excited. Didn't know much about the story. Also, one thing also that I do want to precise about the first impression, I am very biased for Of Jung-pun, but I would consider myself pretty level-headed, okay? Because I was still like, oh, this is again a show where there's two people of opposite gender, so a guy and a girl, that, have to go on missions, and the guy is the more established one in the company, while the girl is the newbie who's kind of figuring out the different things she has to do inside the company. So first we had Catch Me Baby, with Great Sapun and Kun, I forgot her name, the actress Kun, oh, is it? I know her Instagram is Kun4. Is her name 4 or Kun? I think her name might be 4. Anyways, so that show, Catch Me Baby, and they had also, this show was pretty popular because it had the side chick, I think it's James Net, I believe, which are now not together, that pairing. broke off, like most of them do. No shade, no shade, no shade. And I'm so shady. Anyway, and people obviously watched it more for the BL aspects. Girl, I did not give no fucks about that BL aspect. The side ship is good. They were fine, but I actually really loved Catch Me Baby. I loved the pairing. And so, yeah, there was that. And then there was also Return Man. I always call it Running Man, with My Queen, My Love, and also someone who has been paired with Of Jun-poon, and their sex scenes and kiss scenes live rent-free in my head because those were fucking iconic. Okay. I'm not a perv, I promise. Is Park Chae-in paired with, I don't know that guy, but he's very famous, and he's also dating a very big actress. I think he's dating the Thai actress Bo, I believe. Anyways, all of that to say that I felt like a little bit scared, because I felt like, oh, this is the third show, not in a row, but in like, I feel like every year in the past 3 years, there's been a show released with the kind of same trope again of the two people having to work together, even though at first they don't like each other, but they fall in love. And again, the guy is the more like experienced one in the company, and they have to do, and it's also always also the company they work out is something goofy. Like in Catch Me Baby, I believe they have to steal shit or something. I forgot what it was, but they have to, still, I remember there was one in like an auction and stuff like that. I forgot what it was. Then Return Man, they have to find stuff and return it to the right person. So Catch Me Baby and Return Man were extremely close. And by the way, they were directed by the same fucking director. That was, when I learned that, I was like, oh, so and they were filmed at almost the same fucking time as well. I was like, oh, so the same director is doing the same show twice? What the fuck? And Catch Me Baby was superior to Return Man, even though, again, Return Man had My Queen, My Love, Park Chae-in in it. So anyways, so I was kind of like, okay, let's see what Breakup Service has to offer compared to these two shows, because at some point I'm gonna get bored. So we're gonna get into it, like what's new, what's not. Here goes the synopsis. So the story follows Judd. So Judd in Thai means bland. Okay, so if I want like bland food that is not gonna be spicy, and by the way, that's Of Jun-poon's favorite type of food. He doesn't like any type of like spice. Anyways, I'll stop ranting about my man. Okay. And she is lost in her life. So in the first episode, she breaks up with her shitty boyfriend, who's a cheater and a fucking son of a bitch, played by Taito Kirati. And she is just trying to find a job, but she cannot find any. I also loved in the first episode that it's established that Judd is from Isan. So we hear her speak in her dialect. And I really enjoy that aspect, because oftentimes we have actually actors who are not from the region they're playing in, acting in shows that are set in the northern part or the east northern part or the south of Thailand, where they adopt an accent, but it's never very consistent because it's not their real accent. But here they actually incorporated Jorin's real dialect in the show, and I found it really, really cute and fun and great. So Judd, from the get-go, is lost in her life, wants a job, and she keeps running into this guy, Boss, played by love of my life, Of Jun-poon. Okay. And Judd, of course, is played by Jorin Kumpirapan. Okay. So, Boss is at first this guy that we meet. She meets him in a park and kind of steals his money at first, but he gets it back, and then they switch phones. And Boss is going to go propose with his girlfriend, and he's lying to her. So it's already established Boss is a piece of shit. Okay. First episode, Boss is hard to love, even for me, girly. And I was still standing, but honestly, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, they went deep for this one. Okay. So Boss is not a good person. Okay. And in the end, Judd runs after him to get her phone back, and she exposes him having 5 other girlfriends to the girlfriend he was proposing to. And that's how they kind of come to get to know each other. And in the end, Boss decides to get revenge on Judd by making her break up with her boyfriend. So he exposes her boyfriend's cheating, and he also steals the mistress of the boyfriend, who gives him a BJ right then and there in the store. Girl, that was some crazy fucking shit. Sometimes they put Off Junpon in weird ass situation for filming. Like, I swear to God, the number of time where Off has to do random sexual shit with women in random ass shows is crazy. It has happened so many times. Anyways, so in the end, they kind of resent each other, but then Boss sees Jude like beating up her ex, who's a fucking dick, okay? And he's like, she kind of ate with that one. Violence against men? Yes, queen. I feel like that was the internal monologue of Boss in that moment. And Boss was like, you know what? Let me give you the breakup service card. This is the company that I work at. If you ever want to interview, just you can go. And then in episode 2, this is when Jude joins breakup service. And of course, Boss, who until then operated Team A, like Axelle. Oh my God, the team is named after me. I love that for me. He was doing it alone. Now he has Jude by his side, and she's kind of a fucking burden a little bit at the beginning, okay? So anyways, then it kind of has an episode, then it kind of have a episodic way of doing things where each episode is gonna be one mission. But to be honest, they kind of didn't respect that, and we're gonna talk about it. This is one of my gripes of the show. And you'll see that most of my gripes with the shows are not like very deep, but it's a lot of small things that compounded into maybe a little bit bigger thing. But spoiler, I actually really love that show. Anyways, now let's go on to the characters. So you think I'm gonna start with Boss because again, I love Off Junpon. No. In my opinion, Jude is so good. Well, until like episode 9, where she starts, spoiler, liking another guy at the company played by Foy Pachara, who's a very problematic man. Okay. And it comes out of nowhere, and she kind of betrays her own character, in my opinion. And it's just a little bit badly done in that front. We'll talk about it. But until like episode 9, Jude is so good. I actually fell in love with her very quickly. Like from the first episode, I was like, oh, actually, Jorin, I'm sorry for ever doubting you, because Jude is like, I feel like it's not that she's much different from a lot of female characters that are a little bit like sunshine coded. I mean, literally, Jude's color palette is yellow, and we'll talk about the color palette and the detail and the cinematography. Girl, anyway, we'll talk about that. But, I really enjoyed how Jude really has a lot of the qualities that we see in a lot of female leads, like bright and cheery and a little bit naive maybe, and a little bit too good for her own good, that I really enjoyed. But I think she's also a very human character, a very relatable character, and I think the way that Jorin acts as her really makes the character, in my opinion. So I don't think you can separate the characters. I'm sure the character would be lovable in every context, but Jorin just makes her extra special. There's this brightness in the performance, which I'm sorry for talking about the acting, we're not there yet, but there is a brightness in the performance that shows also in the character, and Jude just felt like my girl. Like, I was like, this girlie is relatable, you know? And so for me, I really enjoyed that Jude is from a poorer background, trying to make it in the big city. Again, she doesn't come from Bangkok originally. She's been treated badly in relationships, but she's still someone who's very romantic. And then she ends up in a company that is very antithetical to who she is as a person. She's someone who believes in love, who loves seeing people in love, but she works at a company that breaks up people. And that is kind of at the crux of the whole show. And so even though Jude and Boss are supposed to be the two main characters, I would say this show is a lot more, Jude focused. I think it's not an issue for me. I would have thought it would be an issue because, again, if I can get more of Junpon on my screen, I would. But I feel like in this case, it made sense because Boss, especially at the beginning of the show, is such a hard character to understand. He's kind of just a fucking dick. So you're kind of like, I don't want to see you all the time, even though you're so handsome here, baby. Like, but he was a little bit annoying at first. So I understood really why they put kind of Judd to the forefront. I think she's a lot easier to love and to get invested into than Boss. Boss is a little bit more complex. Now, speaking about Boss, I really enjoyed Boss. I think Boss is at first, in the first episode, I was really actually surprised. I don't know, probably more positively because I didn't expect them to make him this unredeemable from the start. We see him be extremely cruel. Not only is he a cheater, is he pretending to work as an engineer to his girlfriend, because he doesn't want her to know that he works to break up people, or else her parents wouldn't approve of their relationship. You can see him be extremely manipulative. You can see him be extremely vindicative when Judd ruins his relationship. He wants to ruin hers. And we also see him, and I think that's the biggest aspect that I was actually quite shocked at. We see him be really happy to watch Judd suffer. Like, Judd is crying. He's like, like, I ate with that one. You know what I mean? He's like this. And I think I actually really liked it because it's something that I feel like, again, people are afraid to make characters flawed or unlikable, but I feel like that's what I appreciate the most. And I think of Junpon, it's the greatest strength that he has, because the show that kind of blew him and Afghan in general up is Theory of Love, where most people fucking hate his character in Theory of Love. I will be a Kai defender until the day I die. He is very misunderstood, and most of his biggest crime was being dumb as fuck. Okay? His biggest crime and kissing third when he was asleep, and yeah, that I do not approve of. Let me be clear about that. But apart from that, he was just a fucking dumbass and people hate him so bad. Anyways, so I like it because I feel like even Sean in Not Me, again, another favorite character of mine, Sean, some people don't like him. They say he's too angry, he's too blah, 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 he hurt, why? And I'm like, yes, like, we need a character angry. Like, don't you get it? Not Me is about, like, injustice. It's about unfairness. It's about oppression. Like, if no character had been angry in fucking Not Me, the show wouldn't have worked. So in any case, I just feel like Of Junpon is so good. Even Jane in The Trainee, same thing, like, very misunderstood character. I think he does great at playing characters like these. And that's why he was so perfect as Boss, because Boss is a very, as I said, like, he's manipulative, he's very uncaring, he's a player, but he's also someone who I think has been failed on so many levels. One thing that I wish would have seen a little bit more of, but we already saw it enough in the show, and the show doesn't have unlimited time, right? Because the thing is, because literally the show has 12 episodes, and they have to do missions into them and also develop the romance aspect and also develop the characters. And in the way, Jude is not really developed. Like, she kind of stays the same, and she actually gets worse again when she starts crushing on T, another employee. We're going to talk about him in a minute. And I think it's also okay for Jude to not change because, again, so much happens in the show. But again, and that's why I love Of Junpon, I feel like his characters always have great character development, and character development is my favorite thing on earth. Okay, it's literally my fave. Where Boss changes a lot. He changes through his love for Judd, but also I think Boss starts healing some things from his past as the show progresses. Especially towards the end, we had this flashback where we see him. So we see in the first episode that he loves breaking up people since he was a kid. So he literally caused his parents' divorce. He caused, like, his boss's divorce with his wife, and that's how they started breakup service after the separation. He caused so many separations throughout all of his even childhood or teenage life, and so it's kind of always been a part of him, if you will. But the thing is, we also see a little bit later into the show, I think it's this, in the last episode, we see him being blamed by his mom about his dad leaving because he was cheating, you know. And I think Boss has carried a lot of guilt and tried to protect himself. The only criticism I would say is you kind of have to extrapolate all of this, like, information and make it make sense for yourself. Like, the show is a little bit subtle about it, maybe a little bit too subtle. But for me, who, again, I love characters. Characters are my favorite part of any shows. And I love complicated characters, unlikable characters as well. For me, that's how I felt. I felt like Boss really tried to protect himself. And that's why, and it's very clear quite early on too, that Boss is kind of a fucking loser. And I really love that. I think in the first episode, it's so clear because Boss has these aspects where he's a very layered character because he has these moments where he looks so fucking hot and people are fawning over him and he is doted on as a hot man, which he is. But on the other hand, there's also in the same episode aspects where part of the Boss lore is that he literally is, every time he breaks up a couple, he gets hurt. He gets injured in some way. And so literally we see him after he made his parents divorce, something happened. After that, something happened. And even at the first scene of the show, which is the first mission that we see Boss going on by himself, he gets hurt in the end. And it continues throughout, of course, every mission. He wins the mission and he gets injured. I think this was really, really well done. I think it's a really great, first of all, I think it's really fun when there are links between things, right? So if you're telling a story of, okay, they go on, I would say maybe 7 or 8 missions throughout the show. If after every mission you see Boss get hurt when he succeeds, it really works. It makes sense. You're like, okay, there is a pattern and it makes it more cohesive, more fun. And also, I think it also is very, very relevant. It's like a punishment, a karmic punishment. Let's not forget that Thailand is a Buddhist country. They believe in karma, and it's like a karmic punishment that, okay, you succeeded in what you wanted to do by breaking up these people, but you have put bad energy into the world by that, and now it's gonna get back to you. So I really, really loved Boss as a character. Also, Boss, let's talk about it now. So the thing is, and there's been a lot of discourse about it and things like that. So basically, before the show ever started, some people went back to the original webtoon and saw that Boss is canonically bisexual in the show. So in the show, again, I didn't read the comic and I've seen only a picture where we see Boss kissing a dude. And apparently the ex-boyfriend is a big character in the comic. Now, I knew they would likely switch things up, and I was a little bit worried before the show, because the thing is, I've always, again, I'm also a bisexual girly, and I hold on to bisexual representation like so tightly, girl. And I was really, really excited because all my life, I've always wanted more bisexual representation in straight presenting pairings. I think that bisexual stories are almost always presented in the same way, especially in Thailand with BL and sometimes GL, but I would say mostly BL, which is like someone was dating the opposite gender all along, and then they meet one person of the same gender and they're like, oh, you're actually my soulmate, let's stay together forever. And usually it's gonna be the BL ship that the show is about. And I think that it's a little bit reductive. I'm fine with these kinds of stories because some people have lived through it for sure, but I think it's pretty reductive. I think the whole thing about being bisexual is that, first of all, it's a spectrum. Most bisexual have a preference, or their preference will change throughout their life. Like, it's so fluid. And I think for me, the whole point of being bisexual and not having a monosexual sexuality, which no one can choose, obviously, but I think the whole point is that there is fluidity, there is a spectrum, and there is so many different stories. And so I've always been a bit frustrated that I've never seen a story with a bisexual male lead or a bisexual female lead in a straight show. And the fact of the matter is, most bisexual people end up in straight facing couples. So I was really excited because I was like, first of all, again, I literally have a video on my main channel that says every of Junpoon character is bisexual. So this was many years ago. This was even before Not Me started. In my opinion, nowadays it's not that true because I consider Ten from Cooking Crush and Jane from The Trainee gay men, but most of his characters are queer, and most of his characters have always been very bi-coded because of Junpoon in himself is a very bi-coded man, and I think he really embraces that. And again, that's part of why also I stan him. And so for me, I was really excited to see Boss be the first ever male lead that is openly bisexual in a straight show. And as you might have probably known by now, it didn't really happen that way. I was scared that they would completely straight wash Boss, and maybe for some people that's how they feel that it has happened, because basically in the show, the scene where the girlfriend is discovering that Boss has other girlfriend through Jude, who shows her Boss's phone in the first ever episode, I believe that was when there was supposed to be a picture of Boss with a boy in that to say, oh, he's dated girls and boys before, and then that character would come true. But in the show, things were different. From the first episode, I was like, they are setting up Tae's character. So Tae Tawan is of Junpoon's real life best friend. They've been friends for so long and I love them. I'm personally also an off-Tae shipper and I have been for years. So I was pretty excited by this pairing here. And I felt the gay vibes coming from Tae so bad. Like, I was like, from the first episode, I was like, oh, he's flirting. What are these eyes, Tae Tawan? I know you're flirting. I know you are. And, I was a little bit confused. I mean, everyone was. They were like, oh, because again, in that first episode, they didn't show a picture of Boss with a guy. And so they were like, oh, they've erased Boss's sexuality. But then people were like, no, he's gonna have a gay scene with Tae's character Oat. And so there was a lot of confusion. In the end, it mostly was a storyline that kind of resembles the kind of cliche of the gay best friend is in love with his straight best friend. And in the end, Oat, that is the main plot twist of the show in the last episode, that Oat has been in love with Boss all along. And when Boss finally gets with Jude, he pays breakup service to break them up. And I kind of fucking love that plot twist. I like the scene between Boss and Oat when Oat confesses to Boss and they almost kiss. I knew they wouldn't kiss for real, even though they teased the kiss. I wish they would have again, I am an off-Tae shipper, but I knew they wouldn't kiss. And I kind of really liked how this didn't change anything. I liked Boss's response, even though I didn't like that he said, I love you too. And when when Oat goes to kiss him, he's like, but not like that though. I'm like, bitch, what the fuck? Why would you say I love you too? But I kind of like the representation of like, no, I'm not letting you go. You're my only friend. Like, I still love you. I don't care. Like, if it's awkward or whatever, blah, blah. So I kind of really like that scene. But you would say, like, yeah, they have erased Boss's sexuality. In my opinion, I don't think so. I think Boss is, like, very, and that is, again, well, talk about it again. This is gonna be a long episode. I'm seeing this is already 35 minutes. I'm only on characters. I'm on step 3 out of 15, you guys. So put this in 2 times speeds, you guys, because, okay. But I think it's important. For me, I didn't feel like they completely erased, but I agree. I don't think it would have changed anything. They should have just added a boyfriend in the lineup of all the girlfriends that we see in episode 1 to establish like, hey, yes, Boss has dated men before. He is indeed bisexual, because Boss is like, he's always cross-dressing. And I'm not saying being cross-dressing, dressing as a woman is like a sign necessarily of queerness, although I think it is taken as such in today's society because there is such rigid gender roles, especially for straight people, and they kind of want to stay within that box. But I'm sure there's straight men who like dressing as women, like doing drag or whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't want to police what people like to do, but I think, it's interesting because Boss, the 3 times that he cosplays as a woman, I guess, or disguises himself as a woman, like, literally, it's more, it didn't need to be done, of course, I know why they did it behind the scenes. Like when they wrote those scenes, they were like, oh, like it would be so fun to see Off dressed as a woman, especially since he makes such a beautiful woman. And that has been established forever because he always dresses as a woman. He was dressed as a woman in I'm Timmy Too. Super gorgeous. He has been dressed as women at GMMTV outings since literally 2019. So he's always been dressing as a woman, and people know that Off Jumbun makes a really beautiful, gorgeous woman. And again, my bisexuality is flaring up. Okay. I literally made a meme on my Tumblr. I was like, bisexuality is being attracted to both, and you had like a picture of Boss like normal and then him in like as a woman. I was like, that's my husband and my wife, like let's go. Anyway, so all of that to say that I think Boss has some queer coding, especially. We'll get to it. So this was for Boss. I loved him. Yes, I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't actually follow the script. I don't really get why they didn't do it. Maybe they were scared that people would think that this is BL or whatever. I'm not sure why they did that, because I think, again, just adding a boyfriend in the lineup would have been like so normal. And I think like it would have been just so cool to have like an openly bisexual male lead. Oh, so iconic. I'm so sad. But I don't think they completely, I think they changed it, but it wasn't in a rude way, or I didn't feel like it was pernicious. That's how I feel. Anyways, let's go on to the other characters because girl, we don't have time right now. So, after we have Nat, played by Goji Tasha Korn. So she is another member of Breakup Service. She is in Team B and she hates Boss's guts. I really like, again, he's a very misunderstood character, but because Boss is a dick at the beginning of the show. Then we have T, played by Foy Patara again. So T is a guy that we don't really see for most of the show. And at first I was like, yes, like we're halfway through the show and we still haven't seen him like slay, but then he showed up. And T is the more like computer guy, nerdy type, and he just shows up out of nowhere and he's added onto Team A with Boss and Judd, and Judd immediately switches from liking Boss to him, and it's very random. And T, I'm gonna be honest, I dislike Foy for his anti-LGBTQ plus rhetoric that he has shared on his Instagram, which is crazy because he literally has played queer roles before, but anyways, and he was at the Gayest Company of Thailand, which is GMMTV. But in any case, I do recognize that I used to be a fan of his, by the way. I used to think he's a really good actor. So I think he actually has a lot of charisma, but here, zero charisma, girl. So T is a fucking wet noodle, wet blanket. Girl, I could not care for him less. Then we have Kun-chan. Kun-chan is the CEO of Breakup Service. I'm a little bit surprised that he was such part of, like, he's on the poster and he's in a lot of the promotional material, when the actor, I believe, is not that famous. I think he's pretty famous, but he's not like, this is not like they secured a really amazing actor for this role. And also Kun-chan is not in a lot of the show, so it's a little bit confusing, but he's fine. He's a little bit dumb. I liked his scenes with Boss at the end where he's comforting Boss for having his heart broken and he literally kisses his temple. That was really fun. That was fun. Then we have again Oat, played by Tetawan. Oat literally exists only around Boss. He only meets Judd one time, and he is just always there to, again, Boss gets injured after every successful mission, and Oat is a nurse, so he's a nurse or a doctor, I'm not sure, but he's always in there to fix him up, if you will. And it's a very fun friendship because he's always criticizing Boss, but he was in love with him all along, and I just felt that shit. I was like, you're criticizing him because you hate that he won't commit to you. Stop it. Then we have Kon Kae-son, which appears only in the 2 last episodes of the show, played by P. Zani. And Kun Kae-son is the ex-wife of Kun-chan, which is the CEO of Breakup Service. And she's quite fun. I kind of liked her in this role. Nothing to stand up about it. Then we have Rose, played by Jing Yu. Jing is in a lot of shows these days, and I'm quite excited. Rose is also, I think she's from Team C even, and she just comes in to make Judd jealous, and it works really well, and I love it because Jing is literally gun at a pants best friend, and I was like, here you go, you're flirting with your best friend's man, let's go. So that was fun. And I think that's pretty much. Then there's, of course, all the side characters. So there was so many. One thing that was really exciting about, like, this show is also the number of cameos. So we have from GMMTV, Title Kira T playing Judd's ex-boyfriend, Force, Jamie, Indy, Prom, Drake, Ang Pao. Oh my god, Drake. That scene between Drake and Off. By the way, Off and Drake are both in my top 5 favorite actors and have been for like at least 6 years. So seeing them almost kiss on that fucking ground was groundbreaking. And also, they're the 2 actors that I've loved for so long that I've actually gotten to meet in real fucking life. So the fact that both, girl, I was fed. Anyways, Ang Pao, super cute. Jan, Sing, Win Metawin, Emmy, Kay, Piploy, June, Fluk Jirach, my bae, Kapuk, of course, the Kapuk, Paul, Junior, Namtan, and New Titi Poom at the end of the show. Okay, so these are all the characters, but to be honest, only Boss, Judd, and probably Oat matter in my heart. The rest, I don't care. Now the cast and acting. So as we have seen, the cast is very big, and I think it was really fun. I think it's always really fun with big shows like this where you can have an ensemble cast. I think it's really fun. It's really fun for like different fans of these actors that tune into the show just for them. I think it puts more eyes onto the show. And also for me, like, it was fun to see other actors that I really like in these episodes. And again, seeing Off and Drake almost kiss. I approve. So in general, the cast was really good. And the acting was really solid, in my opinion. I think there was a really good balance of mostly lightness, but also some more emotional moments. I think that Jorin really, she was a star in this, in my opinion. Like, she really ate up. Again, I believe this is her first, like, big role like this that is a full series, and she's the main lead like this. And I think she did amazing. I think she was so lovable, so fun, her expressions, so relatable. Like, I loved it so much. And obviously, I think he is amazing. I just love, again, I'm so tuned in, because that's my man, once again, that I just love looking at his micro expressions, especially for a character like Boss, that is in the vein, in a certain way, he is in the vein of a lot of Jumpo characters, like with kind of the pathetic aura, and also the kind of like player part, and also the fact that he's very misunderstood. These 3 components, I feel like, fit a lot of Jumpo character. I don't know why, but, I feel like here he offered something a little bit different. I think Boss was by far his most, like, introverted character and most calculating character, when usually I think he plays pretty like straightforward and honest characters. So that was really interesting for me, again, from a fan perspective. And I think his subtle acting in scenes is so good. Again, stop sleeping on this man's acting abilities. He's one of the best at GMMTV, and I'm not saying that lightly, I swear to God. Go back to Not Me, girl. Girl. In Not Me, when fucking, okay, I've talked too much. So I would say the acting was really good, because in my opinion, being able to balance comedy with more angst, more drama, and there are deeper topics in this, like, there are moments in this that are kind of fucking sad. For example, the Drake and Ang Pao episode, like, they break up even though they both love each other due to Ong Pao's career. And it makes sense that they break up, but it is sad. You're not at the end of the episode like giggling like, yes, they broke up. And I think we will talk about it, about the premise itself of the show is a little bit hard to root for, but we'll get to it. So acting, very good. But now the writing. So in my opinion, this show is really good because it's very well executed. And we'll get to why the other aspects that I think are especially well executed. But I think it's a very well-rounded show. First of all, I've seen that the author of the webtoon, the original story, was on set a lot of the time, and she did participate a lot in the production. So she seemed to be pretty hands-on, and I really appreciated that for her. She literally watched the first episode of the show with Off and Jorin when it came out. She's very involved, and I love seeing a creator be very involved inside of the show. And it's also for the boss being bisexual discourse, why I'm not that offended and that hurt. Of course, I would have preferred if they made it super clear that he is bisexual, because it would have been really important representation, and it would also have been the first ever in a Thai drama. So that would have been so exciting. But I do think that when I see the actual original author of the story being okay with how the show ended up, I feel like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be that upset about it. I don't know. For me, it does mitigate a little bit of my feelings. So for the writing, I think the writing is really strong. I think there's a lot of callbacks. For me, something that I feel makes a good story oftentimes is the callbacks, is the parallels, if you will. So if you take some of my favorite stories ever, favorite movies, be it like, most of them are Asian. When I'm thinking, like, let's go outside of Thailand. If I'm thinking about one of my favorite movie, the movie Parasite, everyone has watched that one, so it's good that I'm choosing a very well-known example. I think Parasite is really good at having callbacks between different symbolisms and objects and moments of the show, of the movie, that make the movie seem more cohesive and better written. This kind of stuff is it can almost be a gimmick. I don't think it's gimmicky, but I think it really helps for a movie or a show to be, or even a book, to be taken more seriously if there are callbacks between different moments, because you feel, so they're talking about this because it was shown in episode 2 that blah, blah. So it makes you feel like more involved, I think, in the story itself. So on that part of the writing, I think the writing was really good. I think the characters are good. I think it was interesting because I think, for example, most of the characters, the side characters that are in the missions elements are a little bit bland. They're a little bit old, like you could almost mix and match them, almost all of them. And they don't have that much personality. I would say the ones who have the most personality would be, Jan and Singh. So Kormai and that other girl, I forgot his name. But I remember the name Kormai because Kormai is literally the name of the author of the webtoon. Is the name. So, and also I think Namtan's character in that show was very, stood up a lot. And yeah, so there are some characters that are a little bit more stand up, but when I think about like, Emmy's character, Win's character, Dre's character, Ong Pao's character, Prom's character, like they're a little bit more blender. And I don't think it's at the detriment of the show, because I think this show still follows Boss and Judd at the end of the day, and their dynamic is so, for me, they are literally the pure definition of Sunshine, of Grumpy X Sunshine, because literally in their color coding, and we'll talk about it more because I love the color coding in this show. It's so good. I love color coding and I wish more shows would do it, girl. But anyways, because in the show, Boss is always in either black or red, and Judd is always in white or especially yellow. So they're literally grumpy. Their color palette is literally Grumpy X Sunshine. Come on. Oh my god. So I think the writing was really, really solid. There are things that I didn't enjoy as much. So for example, I think that the whole Judd going with T storyline was a little bit rushed and a little bit random, because basically the episode right before T first appears, we see Judd having her heart beat like really fast because of Boss. And we're like, oh, she's realizing that she likes him, and they have their closest moment yet. And you're kind of like, oh, they're both realizing that they like each other. But spoiler alert, this was like episode 6. And then we have to wait for episode 11 for them to end up together. Then T is introduced, and T has no charisma. And for me, again, I know that putting my feelings aside about Thai, he can play a charismatic role. And here he has no charisma, and we're supposed to think that Judd, who already liked Boss at this point, was gonna switch it up in 5 seconds for this random mediocre dude. And I'm sorry, Yof Jumpon is way more handsome too. Like, girl, I get that Boss, like, and I wish, the thing is, I understand why Judd wouldn't invest any time, any energy in trying to make a relationship happen with Boss, because she not only knows, but she also believes Boss to be this selfish player who is really bad at communicating, has a very low emotional intelligence, and is not the fucking best. So I understand why she wouldn't like fall into Boss's arms and be like, yes, let's be together now, even though I've seen you treat women like fucking shit 5 minutes ago. Obviously, I understand that part. But for me, the fact that she switched it up to T in 5 seconds, and the writing never explained it. They should have shown a scene, for example, of Judd talking to Cormai and saying, oh, you know, Cormai, like, I really like T. He's so much more normal. He doesn't lie to me. He's not manipulative. And then we would understand, oh, she's talking about how Boss is not a good boyfriend material. And then it would make a little bit more sense. But because she literally goes from 0 to 100 in 1 second, we're like, okay. And she actually spends a lot of time with T, which is kind of, I didn't quite get it, because are we supposed to root for her and T? Like, again, T has the charisma of a wet noodle, but also, like, in the end, T was the mom at their company. He was helping their competitor, which is called Destiny, and it's a company that makes people get together or fall back in love. So they are literally the competitor of breakup service in every way. And you're like, oh, okay, so I'm glad that they didn't make him like a pure villain. He's kind of just a tool for the CEO of the Destiny company, which is, spoiler alert, the ex-wife of the breakup service CEO. And I understand that part, but for me, I feel like I wish they would explain Judd's thought process more, because from that point on, I feel like Judd felt less lovable, less relatable, and we also saw less of her point of view. From then on, we saw actually more of Boss's when he was kind of already in love with Judd, and he was heartbroken over her choosing T instead. Another thing about the writing is that I actually love an episodic show where each episode is a new mission or new thing going on. But I feel like here they kind of failed with that premise, because they set that premise up, but it's kind of giving up really quickly, because by the time we get to, Sing and Jan's character, I believe these are episode 5 and 6, literally, we spent 2 episodes on this couple. So in the first episode, we have Sing and Jan breaking up. And then on the second episode, we have them getting back together because Judd couldn't see them be unhappy apart. And I felt like that kind of broke the rhythm, if you will, because until then it was like one episode, one thing. And also, another aspect of the writing is, for me, the missions are a little goofy. I think what I like the most about Catch Me Baby and even Return Man is that even when the missions seem a little bit too much, or they seem like this is not realistic, but I feel like, again, these are companies that don't exist in real life and probably will never, be it the Catch Me Baby one, Return Man one, or Breakup Service, you know? So I think I'm okay with suspending my belief a little bit, but there are things where I felt like, first of all, Boss is supposed to have never failed a mission before, but as soon as Judd arrives, he's just constantly testing Judd. I would understand the first episode that Judd joins the team in episode 2, that he wants to test Judd, so he lets her do everything. But if you look at the missions, there are very few of the missions where Boss is actually doing anything. And you're like, but he's supposed to be a genius of breaking up people, yet he is he's not participating. Judd is pulling all the weight, which makes sense and should be a metaphor of the inequality between men and women, where men reap all the benefits, i.e. Boss is considered the best at breaking people up and the king of breakup service, when it is actually women who carry the show, i.e. Judd was actually the one doing everything and pulling all of the weight during the whole show. So it is a good analogy, if you will, but still, I'm gonna show me that Boss is that cool guy at breaking up people. We only see the first mission at the bar where we see it lasts 2-3 minutes, and we didn't see the whole process of him getting the receipts of the people cheating, you know? So for me, it's kind of I wish that we would have seen more of Boss, because this is part of the show. There is part of the show where they tell us something and we're supposed to take it at face value, when it doesn't really quite make that much sense. I also didn't like that Judd kind of rejects Boss. I think the way it's not that she rejects him, the problem, again, I understand that, but it's because it felt a little bland, and it felt a little bit like she just went on to ChatGPT and said, how can I reject someone? You know what I mean? There wasn't anything personal. And I think, again, this was the occasion for Judd to be like, I could have liked you if you were a better person, a better partner, if you didn't cheat on people, if you didn't manipulate people. Oh my God, my mouth is so dry. And I've been talking for an hour and we're only at the fucking writing. Oh my God. So there are a lot of aspects in the show that I feel could have been done better. I wish that we would have had one mission per episode. I think it would have made the pace maybe a little bit better. And also I think it would have been, when you have a story that in itself contains a multitude of stories, you get to see a multitude, right? You get to see diversity. So it's good. And it's especially good when you don't like a particular story that much. Because, for example, and I'm going to say maybe it's going to be controversial, I think the Namtan Jr. story, I like the second episode more. I think it could have been one episode. I think it was too long. I didn't get it that much. So for me, there's a lot of aspects where I feel like they could have crammed everything in one episode. So we could have had more stories. For example, where was my Sapphic story? We got a gay couple that broke up, and yet no Sapphics around here. And also I think why for me it's a little bit problematic that the missions a lot of them lasted 2 episodes instead of 1, is that we only have 12 episodes, right? So if even 3 missions, which was the case, so we had the Namtan Jr. one, lasted 2 episodes, the Singjan mission 1 that lasted 2 episodes, and we have the final mission, which is the husband and the CEO of Breakup Service getting back to his ex-wife in the end, that also takes 2 episodes. So we have half of the show that is in one format. So it's like each episode is one mission. And we have the other half that is in another one, which is one mission equals 2 episodes. So it's a little bit confusing. And also I think that it made it feel longer towards the end, because it's the second half of the show where these 2 episodes mission start appearing, and it makes it, in my opinion, a little bit more confusing. I believe that the only one that should have gotten a 2 episodes parter might have been the Singjan one, because in Singjan they actually break up and then they get back together, and it makes sense character wise, because this is the culmination of one of the most important tropes of the show, which is that Judd is working at breakup service, even though her true instinct is actually to make people get together or get back together. And so she goes against her company to make her friends, Kormai and I forgot her Singh's character's name, get back together. And that's a very important moment in the show, especially since she lies about it, and it becomes also another plot point later on in one of the last episodes. So all of that, I feel like that's the only mission where I understand why it was 2 episodes, but in this case it should have been they break up, the next episode is another completely different mission that has nothing to do with it, and maybe 2 episodes later we go back to Kormai and her now ex-boyfriend, and we see that they're so sad together, and then this is when Judd decides to get them back together. So for me, these are my biggest issues with the show. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Now the cinematography. This was so good. From the get-go, I absolutely adored how Breakup Service is so clearly inspired from the original webtoon it comes from. So if you look at the decor, even just let's take one of them. Let's take the boss's office, and then bosses and Judd's office at Breakup Service. First of all, it follows a very linear theme, like color palette. So it's mostly white and red. Red is a very important color in the show because it's the color of the company. It's one of the main colors, one of the only 2, colors that a boss wears. And it's a very important color. Also, red is the color of passion, it's the color of love, it's the color of blood, it's the color of violence too. You know, it's the color of so many intense stuff, let's say. So I really enjoyed how when you look at the office, it feels a little bit cartoonish. The color palette, the way the things are set up, it looks like a comic book. And a lot of the outfits, a lot of the shots, a lot of the way the show is set up and filmed is very comic book inspired, and I ate it up. I have to say here, I'm always knocking down on the cinematography at GMMTV shows. GMMTV shows are usually unimaginative and not that inventive, about the cinematography. But this ate, and I know it would because this is the director of The Trainee, and The Trainee already had a very strong visual identity, and I'm a visual girly. There's nothing more than I love when a show has a very strong visual identity. Like I told Sense About You, Not Me, all of my favorite shows have very strong visual identity, and I love it so much. So in my opinion, the cinematography was bomb. And usually I would tell you the decors and the settings and the locations and the color palettes and the color grading was nice, but the camera shots were boring. Here, not even. Here, it's not like it's the most innovative camera shots, but there is a recurring one that I absolutely love, which is where we see a very wide angle shot, and then we zoom in very, very far to see Off's characters or boss being disguised into a street cleaner, a security guard, or whatever. And I absolutely love these shots. I think they're so cool. I think they're fun. And I think it really serves to establish the location, and then how well Boss is able to disguise himself. I think bosses, as I said, they don't really show us the inherent qualities that Boss brings to the missions. Apart from him being able to disguise himself, he is the disguisement like king for real. So cinematography, in my opinion, that's a 10 out of 10. Literally at the end of, I believe, the 2nd episode. So good. They are leaving the mission. Judd walks ahead and Boss gets a call from Oat. And he is on a parking lot. And so the parking lot has a big in sign. And this is something that only people who understand Thai would know. Because in Thai, when you say in, it means like, oh, I'm into someone. ฉันอินมากเลยอ่ะ Like, it means I'm super into this. So when Oates ask Boss, like, oh, you're into her, right? And he said, what do you mean? No, I'm not into her. And then he leaves, and we see that he was standing on the sign that says in, meaning he is into her. It's such a detail. These scenes only last a few seconds, but it's so good. This is how it proves that this show is good as fuck. Okay, the cinematography was so good. I loved it so much. Definitely one of my favorite aspects of the whole show. Really gorgeous. Honestly, I should go back and do screen grabs. I think the show looks phenomenal. I think it's so well done, well filmed. The settings, locations, color grading, perfect. Love it so much. Then we have the pace. So for me, I think the pace was pretty good. But again, the biggest flaw of the show is that it has inconsistencies where you have 6 episodes of the show where 1 episode equals 1 mission. And then we have 6 episodes of the show where 1 episode equals 2 missions. So it creates this kind of disparity of episodes where you probably got a little bit more bored. I think that was my case at the 2 episodes per mission ones than the 1 episode per mission ones. The 1 episode per missions, you know, you're in and out. You know that once the episode will be done, that mission will be done. And I think, of course, there are also other flaws of the 1 episode's missions because it does make us less attached to the characters. We see the characters less, and we have less screen time to be privy to their feelings and who they are. But I think they were more solid still because you didn't have time to feel bored. And for me, it was especially in the Namtan Jr. show, storyline, which they wrapped up very nicely at the end. I really liked that breakup where you could be where you have dreamed yourself to be on an equal footing with your partner. But in the end, the love has changed. The love has died. And you're not right for each other anymore. And I think that was a really good lesson. And I think this show in general had a few good lessons inside. And also something that I forgot to say about the writing is that there is also this fact that a lot of the couples they try to break up actually don't really break up. So I feel like, yeah, it's not a very stable show where you believe in the competency of Boss and Judd. And honestly, everyone at breakup service, because you don't. They all honestly look like dumbasses most of the time. Most of the time you're like, how did this company survive this long? First of all, they do something very unethical, like why haven't they been shut down already? But also, everyone at this company is fucking missing some connections up here. Like, what the fuck? But apart from that, I would say the pace is pretty good. Like, I personally didn't really get bored. I really enjoyed the show. I think it was really fun. Again, it is mostly a fun, light show, even though there are other, more deeper tones sprinkled throughout. So for me, I didn't get bored once. I would say the pace was pretty good. Then we have the ships and chemistry. So I actually loved Boss Judd. I love them so much because I love opposites attracts couple. I love couples, grumpy ex-sunshine couples. And I love couples where there is supposed to be an imbalance in one way, but in the end it ends up the other way. Let me explain. In the show, starting the show, you would believe that it's probably gonna end up being imbalanced for Judd, okay? Because Judd is the newer employee at the company. She's kind of following Boss. Boss is more of her superior, even though they are technically the same level. He's been there since day one. And if one of them were to be fired, it would be Judd. So in the work sense, Boss is better than her. Then on the manipulative sense, Boss is very manipulative. Judd is very honest, a little bit naive, okay? And then in also the sense of love, where Judd doesn't have a lot of positive experience in love, whereas Boss has been the one to give girls negative experiences because, again, he's a dickhead. So there is imbalance in almost every teams in their lives that they have in common. Yet in the end, it doesn't feel imbalanced for Judd. It feels imbalanced for Boss, because Boss gets into Judd so much more than Judd. And this is where I kind of understood and kind of in a way approved of Jude moving on to T and kind of making Boss suffer quite a lot for many, many episodes to get her. Because first of all, again, it makes sense. She has seen Boss not be a good romantic partner. But also, I think that it's very good to see a mostly bad character, especially at the beginning of the show, like Boss, kind of suffer for his actions. There is really this notion of karmic justice, which you can find in most Thai dramas, and it really permeates this show in particular, because Boss gets his comeuppance. And I actually really enjoyed Heartbroken Boss, the episode where they're at that hotel near the sea and Boss is just depressed. Chef's kiss. Literally, I have saved memes, like reaction memes from that episode because they're so fucking funny. Like Boss on that fucking floaty, like all dressed all in black with the sunglasses. Absolutely incredible. A masterpiece. And again, this is a sign of a show that doesn't take itself too seriously, right? But still wanted us to root for this relationship because it's a beautiful relationship and not because there's a power imbalance. And in the end, you can see that Boss also, I love that when Boss confesses, he says, I love you. He doesn't say, I like you. One thing that is my pet peeve, and it might seem petty, but I don't care. A lot of shows, they'll have the characters confess. Sometimes they've been in love with the same person for years. For decades sometimes. And they'll be like, I like you. No, girl, you don't like that person. You've been in love with them for 10 years. You know, so I hate when they undermine the confession. Like, of course, a lot of confession where it's like, I like you makes sense because most like romance shows, it's two people who haven't been in love with each other for super long and they're falling in love as we are watching the show. But in the case of Boss, I really love that he said, I love you, because he has been so close to Jude. I mean, he's lent her his condo. She lived at his place and they've been working together for many months at the end of the show, that if he said, I like you, I felt like it would be a little bit demeaning. And I think it made it feel stronger, especially coming from Boss, who is again a very non-committal character. The fact that he said, I love you, he was really putting everything on the line. And apart from, so I really love both Jude, and my favorite thing about both Jude, and there was a meme about it, in the breakup service fandom, if you will, which is, there is one scene where Boss disguises as a woman. As I said, it's very common. He does it 3 times in the show. And he dresses up as the librarian of the university of one of the people involved in the mission that the mission is about. And he is looking so beautiful, first of all. Again, of Jumpun as a woman. Whew, by panic. Anyways, Jude like wipes his lipstick away because he said, oh, I have an appointment. He had an appointment with Oat, but she says, oh, is it a woman? And he says yes, because he doesn't want to, he wants to make her jealous. He started liking her already. And she goes to wipe his lipstick, and it's so like queer coded. It's such a sapphic moment. And I saw someone reblog one of my gift sets about it that said, oh, no wonder I really love this pairing. They're basically a lesbian couple. And there is true queer like energy in that pairing where, if not queer, at least there is a lot of gender subverting, like gender expectations, because most of the pursuing and most of the moments where someone is like having to calm themselves down because the person they have a crush on like did something next to them is on Boss. So there is this moment where Jude wipes the lipstick off of Boss's lips, and he's like grasping at, they're in a library again, he's grasping at books, he's literally making books fall. Like the emphasis on his hand, like contorting and being like, oh my god, the pretty girl is wiping lipstick off of me, girl. This is first of all, this is the gay shit I've ever heard. Sapphic as fuck, first of all. And second of all, this is so like, this subverts the expectations so much, because especially in like Thai dramas, and also like I'm sure K-dramas, like most like Asian romances that are straight, is gonna really fit into usual gender roles. And in any other show, the roles would be reversed. It would be Boss seducing Judd, and Judd cannot contain her emotion. So to have the male lead be this emotional about his feelings and being like, oh, I can't contain how much I like her. There's another scene where Judd corners Boss against his fridge, and he's also like, oh my god, my crush is touching me, she's so close to me, blah blah blah. And it's so like, again, this is such a thing that would be opposite in every other show, that also I think this is why I was kind of not that upset about Boss not being like very clearly and openly bisexual on the show, because I was like, again, there is no way, the way that he is acting is not how most straight men act, and it was very queer coded, very like female gaze, and I absolutely loved it. I love that part so much, and I wish we would have gotten a little bit more of it towards the end of the show, because once Judd and Boss get together, I feel like their gender roles become quite classic, and they're still very cute, but I really liked it when Judd was the one making Boss all flustered and shit, especially since I love seeing Off Jump on flustered and shit. So yeah. And for the other ships, I didn't care for anyone else. I'm gonna be Judd and T, terrible pairing. They had no chemistry, I have to say. They had chemistry at moments, but I don't know, they didn't look good together, and that's my bias, but I have to say it. And all the like couples, I didn't really care for them. Which one was my favorite of the couples in the missions? Probably Singh and Janya. Definitely. I like them. Next, we have the music. The music is really good. I love the soundtrack for this show. I think it's so good. Oof, I love that. Shimai. So good. Anyways, I love that team so much. I love that team song. So good. Satong 8 on that one. Literally so good. I literally love that song for real. And I think the lyrics are really fun. Like, it's a really good song in my opinion. But apart from that, like, the music is not crazy. Like, I didn't notice it that much. I think it just fit the show very well. So I would approve of the music. So next, the costume design. So again, I really think that the visuals of this show really ate, and the costume design is definitely part of it. So we have Judd again dressed mostly in yellows and whites, Boss mostly dressed in blacks and reds. I loved the silhouette that they used for Boss. Like, his outfits are so good. And again, Off Jumpon in this particular show has never looked hotter. Like, oh, every shot I was just staring my screen. I was like, that's my man. Like, oh, so good. Literally so handsome. I can't. But Judd is like so cute. I think her style is really fun. She has a more like eclectic style. I think it's a little bit more boyish at time, which I really liked. I think it fits Jorin's personal style a little bit as well, because Jorin is a little bit more of a boyish girly. So I think it really fits with the actress that played her, and also Judd as a character. And in general, like, everyone else in the show was dressed really well. I think the costume design really served to establish like color palettes for the characters, because we also have Jing who plays Rose, who's Judd's like competitor, if you will, at breakup service and to gain Boss's favors. And she also wears red, and she's more like passionate. So you can see a very distinct styling between the characters to establish their roles inside of the story, which I really, really enjoyed. And I think the costume design was really, really good. And also, I feel like the costume design also had a very cartoonish webtoon element to it that was really cool. Anyways, now for rewatchability. So for me, the rewatchability of this show is so, I'm gonna be honest. I think it's a nice show to rewatch, but I feel like once you kind of know all of the plot twists, and once you kind of have seen the missions and you kind of already know which couple's gonna survive and which is not, it's kind of does take a little bit of the pleasure of the show again. So if I were to rewatch, to be honest, I would probably fast forward the mission elements and I would just watch the boss Judd moments, because again, for me, they carry the show. They are the soul of the show. Again, I love their pairing. I think they were so cute together. And yeah, so in rewatchability, like, let's say out of 10, I would give it a 7. It's definitely rewatchable. I think it's a very nice show to like put when you are not feeling the best or you're bored. Like, it's a really good show to pass the time. I feel like it's a very inoffensive show, so I think most people would really appreciate it. I'm spoiling the upcoming moments, but yeah. Then I'm adding a new thing today, which is enjoyment out of 5 stars. So I realize also that I go through these reviews analyzing the show very methodically, right? Very logically, where I go through everything like, characters, actors, cinematography. And this is really nice. I think it's a way for me to establish why I liked a certain aspect of the show, why I didn't like another. But I feel like the most important part of a show is not necessarily all the technical aspects to it, but it's also how much you enjoyed it. And mostly actually how much you enjoyed it. Because you could watch the perfect show from a logical standpoint, where the writing is 100%, the acting is 100%, the cinematography is 100%. Again, that would be difficult because art is subjective. But I think even if you found the perfect movie, maybe you won't like it because the themes don't talk to you. Something about it like doesn't resonate with you. And I think it's also important to rate the enjoyment you get out of a show. So for me, the enjoyment was 5 stars. I enjoyed the hell of it. It really made my Mondays such a good day. I was so happy watching the show. I had so much fun. My eyes were very happy to see off looking that hot on my screen every week. And I really enjoyed it. Next, we have the rating. So you guys might actually be a little bit surprised by my rating. Okay. So I gave this show an 8 out of 10. I know. So the only reason, and by the way, on my drama list, it has a 7.9 out of 10, which I think is pretty fucking good. Usually Thai dramas are rated quite low, especially the non-BL or non-GL ones. And even BL or GL ones, like, because my drama list started, I feel, as a K-drama website, it's so much more biased towards K-dramas. And I feel like K-dramas automatically get a very high rating, but Thai dramas struggle. Like, a lot of Thai dramas don't get a lot. Honestly, I thought it might have been rated lower. So it's just 0.1 away from my original grade. Damn. So the only reason why I gave it an 8 out of 10 and not an 8.5, I really wanted to give it an 8.5, but then I thought about it and I was like, when I think of other shows I've given 8.5, I think all these shows had something that Breakup, I was going to say Theory of Love, no, that Breakup Service doesn't have, which is that there is an emotional factor to it where I related to the show. So if I think about my more recent 8.5's rating, we have Us. Us, I really related to. I really was touched by the relationship to family, the family drama, and the fact that this show finally had a toxic parents get their comeuppance. For me, it was really a positive thing, and I absolutely adore this show for this reason. And even if I think about Tempo, I was gonna give it an 8 out of 10 first, but then I realized that it was giving a really good message about idols and celebrities in general and toxic fans. And that's why I gave it an 8.5. But I feel like Breakup Service doesn't necessarily have the same impact. I think it tried to incorporate some lessons into the show, about the different breakups that we can see occurring in the show, because ultimately we see that the breakups that occurred forced by breakup service and weren't actually meant to occur didn't stay, and the people did get back together. But the breakups that did occur were actually meant to be, in a way. And in the end, the conclusion is that none of these couples actually really need breakup service to come and break them up, because they would have broken up or not anyways, So I think that's the lesson of the show, but for me, I didn't really resonate with it. First of all, I'm perpetually single, but second of all, like, I didn't really feel anything very deep said about love. There wasn't any societal aspect, and definitely if they had made Boss to be a bisexual male lead in a straight Thai drama, I would have given it an 8.5, because that would have been incredible representation that I have been craving for so long, for actually longer than I've been out as a bisexual, like even before, when I believed I was straight, which is still crazy to me that I ever believed that. It's crazy how perspective changes. But anyways, when I still believe I was straight, I still was craving for more bisexual characters in straight facing couples. And so, yeah, definitely a really solid 8 out of 10. But for me, there's not that emotional side for me that brings it to an 8.5. But if I could give it an 8.25, I definitely would. But that rating doesn't exist on my drama list. So here we are. Then we have how I would fix it. So again, I think that I would definitely make it 1 mission per episode. I would also show more of Jude's thought process as to why she kind of move on from Boss and goes on to T so quickly. Because again, it felt very jarring, and it was really hard for us to side or root with Jude after she started kind of switching it up like this. Maybe I would develop like Boss and why he's like that more, to make it clear that he can heal and become a good partner in the end, because it's not shown that much. He is seen as much softer and a good partner in the end, but we're not shown how or why he achieved it. And maybe we could have maybe we could have gotten more details. I don't know why my English is leaving me, you guys. I've been speaking for an hour and a half also, so I need to wrap this shit off. But apart from that, yeah, that's how I would fix it. And lastly, who would like this show? Honestly, I feel like most people, if you are okay with straight pairings, because I know some people only watch BL or GL or both. But if you're okay with straight pairings, I think you'll really enjoy this. If you're okay with ridiculousness, a show that doesn't take itself seriously, that has like so many fucking ridiculous moments. Personally, I love these kinds of shows. I think this is where Thai dramas excel at. Like literally, I don't think any other country in the world makes shows that don't take themselves seriously like Thai dramas. I think that there's something about Thai humor that is so ridiculous, and they're willing to just go there, and it works so fucking well, you guys. So I think most people would like this show. I really recommend this show. I saw a lot of people being surprised that this show wasn't that popular. Personally, it was a lot more popular than I thought it would be. Like, it got at least 125,000 tweets per episode. So it was trending every episode. It literally was more popular on Twitter than Boys in Love, which was crazy. A BL show. And Boys in Love, the episode on that is coming very soon. I'm recording it right after this one, actually. And Boys in Love was less popular on Twitter than Breakup Service. And that's also why it made me kind of sad that Boys in Love did get like the first screening and the last final fan meet, and we didn't get anything around Breakup Service. Again, it felt like a little bit of a second thought and something that GMMT didn't really put any energy in. And it kind of shows the color and why GMMTV for their lineup in 2025, they only chose, like, it was mostly BL and GL shows, and then maybe 3 or 2 shows that were straight or ensemble cast. Yeah, I'm thinking it was Breakup Service, I Love a Lot of You, and Mute Love, and that's it. Like, literally, that's it. So for me, it's it's a little bit worrying because I do actually really enjoy straight shows or non-romantic shows like The Gifted, for example. But I feel like we're straying away from those a lot more at GMMTV, which is a little bit sad, although I of course enjoy getting more Afghan shows than before, for sure. And by the way, talking about Afghan, I'm literally resting my microphone today on the official light stick box of Afghan. I can't take it out because it's inside the box, but yeah. So when I say I'm an Afghan fan, girly, I really am. So yeah, that was it for today's episode. It was so long. I really recommend you watch this show. It was really such a fun time, and I love my off Jumpun so much, and I'm just me waiting for burnout syndrome. Like, how can I survive for more than half a year without Jumpun on my screen? I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna rewatch all the Afghan shows in preparation. But okay, this is it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next week. Bye bye.